Hey everybody, Kyle Goethe here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel. And we're going to start something new here in 2023. It was a project I was kind of working on in 2022, but the timing just got away from me here. I've been seeing a lot of these filmmakers and physical media people really trying to talk about their collections. I've seen some wonderful videos that range 8-10 hours, and I'll probably be doing one of those. But I think what I'm going to do with it this year is I tried to film this as one long video, and I can't tell you how many times it failed to work. So we are going to film this in sections, letter by letter through the alphabet, my entire physical media collection, bit by bit, piece by piece. Then I'll probably put them all together and make one big collection of them at the end. And then maybe going forward, I'll do long videos for it. But it's a lot of work, and if the camera cuts out on you or the sound doesn't work after 8 hours, you're just pissed. So yeah, why do videos like this? I don't honestly have an answer for you. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, well, he's doing it for the clicks and he's doing it for likes. I don't know why I watch people talk about their physical media collections, but it's something that draws me in. And if it's working on me and it's making me excited to see what someone else has in their collection, I'll probably do the same. So hopefully you enjoy this if you're a fan of physical media. As we go through each letter, I'm going to ask you right now, let me know your thoughts on the various films that are mentioned there. Comment below if there's a movie you love. If there's a movie you hate, that's totally cool too. Let me know. We'll have the conversation down in the comments section. Outside of that, yeah, we're just going to have fun talking about some movies for a while. We're going to start with the numbers today. So we're not even getting into A. We're starting with the numbers. I have a bit of a photographic kind of memory where, like, I remember a movie if it's got a number in its title. I remember if it's written as 3 or typed out with a T. So you're going to see the movies with the numbers on the cases here. So it helps me to find them more. And we're going to go through them just bit by bit, starting from the lowest number. So this first one's actually a hoity-toity Criterion set that I've got here, which is 3 films by Roberto Rossellini starring Ingrid Bergman. This film set contains 2 versions of the Stromboli film, an English language version as well as a Italian language version. It also has Europe 51 in both English and Italian language versions, as well as Journey to Italy. I've seen Stromboli. It's a pretty solid little film, but I have not dived into the other 2 in the set yet. You're going to find this a lot with Criterions. I buy more than I have time to watch. So there's a lot of Criterions in my set that just are not going to get watched. Not yet, hopefully, but I actually chipped away a lot in 2022 at my personal collection of films. I'm hoping to keep doing that in 2023. As soon as the Oscar season is done, I'm pretty much dead set now for the rest of the year. So, yeah, nice set right here. Let me know if you have a preference for that film set as well. We've got another one here. Criterion set, 3 silent classics by Joseph von Sternberg. So this has Underworld, The Last Command, and The Docks of New York. I've seen Underworld. I have not seen the other 2. Silent films I'm very enticed by. I'm very interested in, but they're films I can't like binge through because because they are so silent. I need to have some time in between them. But Underworld I actually was really taken with. I thought it was a pretty cool little movie. I believe The Last Command has the first ever Best Actor winner for the Academy Awards. That kind of gives you a time placement for it, but I've not seen that or The Docks of New York yet. I actually have another Joseph von Sternberg set. I started this one because I wanted to watch this before I got to some of his talkies. Keeping in function with the Criterions, we have The Sixth Day. This is my DVD of the film from Roger Spottiswoode. I think this is kind of an underrated little Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi movie. I think it's got a cool concept. It doesn't fully take advantage of it, but like it goes to some places as far as cloning goes that I didn't expect. And maybe I was on the outside of that. I saw it when I was pretty young, but I liked it. Hey, Richard Roper and Ebert liked it as well. It's got 2 thumbs up, so take that, all right? They were on my side. Up next is 10 Things I Hate About You. This is the classic Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger film based on The Taming of the Shrew from Shakespeare. I've never been a fan of this movie. I bought this for my wife. She loves this movie. I think ever since I bought this on Blu-ray for her, she hasn't watched it. She had it on DVD for a great many years, and then I bought this for her, and she never watched it. So I probably should. I probably should watch it again, if only to make sure the disc works. All right, up next, going up the numerical list, we have 21. This was that movie from Robert Lukatic from a I think it was 2007, that followed the true story of the guys that basically took card counting to Vegas and cleaned up. Very historically inaccurate as far as casting goes, and as far as some of the storytelling bits and pieces. But I thought this was a really fun little movie. I recently rewatched this last year, and I thought, man, it was a fun little Vegas caper of a film. Very, how do I say it best? Very surface level, very enjoyable though. You get like some early Josh Gad work. I really like Jim Sturgis. Lawrence Fishburne's great. Kate Bosworth is wonderful. Yes, Kevin Spacey's in the movie. He's really good in the movie. You may hate him as a person. That's totally, yeah, that's fine. You can hate him. But he is really good in the movie. It's just some people don't want to watch Kevin Spacey in films anymore, and I kind of get that. I'm able to separate the art from the artist, so I just I move past it and I watch the movie. But I can see why. If he's not for you, that's okay. You don't have to. All right, up next we've got 21 Jump Street on DVD here, as well as 22 Jump Street on Blu-ray. So we've got both those films. Who would have thought? So you got Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who I think had done Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs at that point. They hadn't done the Lego Movie yet, and of course they were just coming out with these two. But if you had said 21 Jump Street's getting a movie version as a comedy with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, I'd have said this is really stupid. And I did say that. I'm pretty sure I did. I was late to the party on the first film. I watched it on home video. I think I got the DVD for like $2 on Black Friday. And I loved it. And I thought 22 Jump Street was even better. That ending with the whole like random sequel thing too was such perfection. Those movies. Do you know for a while we almost got 23 Jump Street, but it was going to be, I think it was called MIB 23, and it was going to be a 21 Jump Street mixed with Men in Black. Yeah, the director, James Bobbin, who did the Muppets, and I think he did the Dora the Explorer movie, was attached for a number of years to that project. Never took off, but it almost happened. All right, up next we have 28 Days Later, as well as 28 Weeks Later. This one's still wrapped up. I have not watched 28 Weeks Later yet. I was not a giant fan of the first movie. I saw it back in 2001 when it came out. I rented it with my mom. My mom and I were super into watching scary movies together. I didn't care for it that much. Watching it again, I recently rewatched it with the idea that I was going to see 28 Weeks Later soon after. And I liked the first film quite a bit more. I still have not gotten around to watching 28 Weeks Later, but liked 28 Days quite a bit more than I expected to. It's still not in my top tier of zombie films. And I know they're not zombies, whatever. Not in my top tier of that, but I liked it. Yeah. I've been really a fan of a lot of Danny Boyle's recent films, so it's like I had to go back and revisit that one. All right, up next, we have 30 Days of Night, the winter vampire film from director David Slade. Fun little movie. I think this is actually, I'm in the rarity here. I usually don't believe films should become TV shows. I usually think the other way around. I think everything can be shortened. If you want to hear my thoughts on MCU TV shows, I think all of them could have been 2-hour movies that would have been much better than the shows that they eventually became. But in this case, I think a 30-episode limited series that shows every day of this series would be incredible. I think it'd be great. As it stands, the movie's pretty good for an hour and 50 minutes. It covers 30 days pretty quickly, but it does what it's supposed to do. All right, up next we have 30 for 30. This is the first collection of films from ESPN's 30 for 30 collection. I'm just going to rifle them off really quick. We have The King's Ransom, The Band That Wouldn't Die, Small Potatoes, Muhammad and Larry, Without Bias, The Legend of Jimmy the Greek, The U, Winning Time, Guru of Go, No Crossover, Silly Little Game, Run Ricky Run, The 16th Man, Straight Outta LA, June 17, 1994, The Two Escobars, The Birth of Big Air, Jordan Rides the Bus, Little Big Men, One Night in Vegas, Unmatched, The House of Steinbrenner, Into the Wind, 4 Days in October, Once Brothers, Tim Richmond, Fernando Nation, Marion Jones, The Best That Never Was, and Pony Express. So it's 30 sport documentaries. It's weird. I'm not a giant sports guy. I like going to live sporting events. I love seeing soccer, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. I'll go to the live and see it all the time. I don't really watch any of it on TV, and I couldn't rifle any facts off for you. My brothers are the sports guys. I'm the movie guy. I really like a good sports documentary, though, or a good sports movie. Very much works for me. I've only seen a couple of those, and I am meaning to go through that set as well. All right, up next we have 30 Minutes or Less. I bought this kind of on just a whim because I really liked Ruben Fleischer's Zombieland. It's not a bad movie. It's just it's okay. You know, it's an okay movie. I think the four leads are having fun. I think it's a nice, quick, like it's like an 80-minute movie, and it moves at a nice clip. Yeah, I enjoyed watching 30 Minutes or Less. I can't tell you a damn thing about the movie right now, but I enjoyed what I've seen of it. The couple times I've watched it, I've had fun. It's just a very surface level, forgettable comedy. Movie I have not seen yet, we have 31 from Rob Zombie. I almost was a backer for this movie. I've enjoyed actually quite a bit of Rob Zombie's movies. Even the one of his that I downright despised, House of a Thousand Corpses, I don't think it's a good movie. But I rewatched it last year for my 31 Days of Horror, and I thought it was better. I thought it was okay. That's the only one of his I've down and out disliked. But I like his 2 Halloween films. I like The Devil's Rejects quite a bit. Lords of Salem is an underrated gem. I haven't seen all of his movies, but the ones I have seen, most of them I've liked. So 31 is probably the case for me on that as well. Back to Criterion. Oh, there goes Criterion. The 39 Steps is an Alfred Hitchcock film, one of the probably 5 or 6 or so that he has on Criterion. I bought it because Alfred Hitchcock's name on it. It's not one of my favorites. It's got some cool sequences in it, but it's not one of my favorites. Not during that like prime Universal Hitchcock relationship. This was back in 1935. It's fine. I don't love it, but I don't dislike it either. One of my favorite comedies growing up, and one that I probably should revisit because it's been a while, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. This was another case of like, this movie was getting so much buzz following Anchorman. Because, I mean, really, we all knew Anchorman as being Judd Apatow produced, and it was like the producer of Anchorman is directing a movie with Steve Carell called The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Okay. And the fact that this movie got as much acclaim as it did was kind of shocking because comedy is not seen as the ghetto that horror has been for so many decades, but comedy rarely ever gets like end of the year top 10 lists, especially at this time. We're moving away from it a little bit, but comedy's a big deal when it actually gets lauded, like critically and commercially, and I think everybody just loved The 40-Year-Old Virgin. 47 Ronin, Keanu Reeves, haven't seen it yet. I recently did a top ranking on my Patreon for Kyle and Nick on Film. We did our favorite Keanu Reeves films recently, and I forgot that I had this one. I should have watched it so I could have seen if it made my top 3, but he's made a lot of good movies. So up next is 54. It was kind of like the movie that wanted to be Boogie Nights right around the time Boogie Nights came out. People remember Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is a better movie, but there's something about 54 I quite like too. Ryan Phillippe is really good. Salma Hayek and Nev Campbell are wonderful. Mike Myers is great as the owner of Studio 54 in this movie, though. He's one of the best parts about the movie. I really quite enjoy 54, but it's surface level. So take with that what you will. I'm not going to read off all these, but I've got the 100 classic cartoons. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to have a couple mimosas one morning and watch some classic cartoons. So I bought this set. I'm not going to tell you what all 100 cartoons are, but there's a bunch of stuff on here. After that, we got 101 Dalmatians, the Disney classic on Blu-ray. Not one of my favorite ones, but there was a time where, remember the Disney Vault? Before we had Disney Plus, there was the Disney Vault, which was, if you wanted a movie, it might not be on Blu-ray forever or DVD or whatever the thing was at the time. They'd only really come out once for a couple of years, and then they'd go back in the vault until the next format dropped. So I picked up as many Disney films as I could back when that was the case, because who knew if they were going to be back, you know? All right, up next we have 127 Hours. This was my number 1 favorite film of the year. It came out 2010, I believe 2010. It was funny because I saw Black Swan, and I was like, Black Swan's my favorite movie of the year. And then the next day I saw 127 Hours, and I was like, oh, 127 Hours is my favorite movie of the year. Like, I just kept seeing these movies that just affected me on such a level. This was fantastic. I recently did an episode of, what was the show? I Drink Your Podcast. Why am I blanking on stuff? It's been a long day. I did an episode of the show I Drink Your Podcast, and the team over there covers films from 2007, and then they did 2010 the following year, and we covered this film together. I still think it's fantastic. I don't know if it's my favorite movie of that year anymore. I will have to re-rank. Been thinking about starting rankings on this channel, and I think maybe re-ranking my favorite films of the year would be kind of fun. So probably be something I'll do down the road. Up next, we got a double feature of 300 and 300 Rise of an Empire. I'm also holding on to the 3D Blu-ray for Rise of an Empire because I still have my 3D TV and my 3D Blu-ray player, and maybe, I don't know, eventually it'll probably go, but, you know, I've got both of them on there. I took a while to come over on the 300 front. Part of it was that I was expecting Sin City or Dawn of the Dead remake. It was Zack Snyder's adaptation of Frank Miller. So I was expecting a Sin City level film or a Dawn of the Dead level film. And 300 is good entertainment, but it's not either of those. And so that's one of the things that affected me there. I waited a long time to watch the prequel sequel too, and it's fine. They're both fine movies. I can get a lot of enjoyment out of them, but I can see also why people might not like them. All right, up next we got 500 Days of Summer. I picked this up from a store that was closing. There was rental stores that were closing, and I remember picking this up from a couple rental stores. I got the DVD from one, and then another store closed, and I got the Blu-ray. So 500 Days of Summer, I've seen it a couple times now. I'm not gaga for it, but it's a well-structured romantic comedy that's just kind of depressing. All right, 1408, one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. This is the DVD. I have yet to get it on Blu-ray because I need to find a Blu-ray that has both versions of the film. That's right, this film has a, extended director's cut with alternate ending that I'm not entirely sure might just be the same film with a different ending, but it's on its own disc on here. So there's two cuts in the movie, and I prefer the extended director's cut. So what do? You know, you got like, I want to get that version or else I'm not getting rid of my DVD. I'd rather have a lower quality version of a film that's the cut I want than a higher quality version that's the cut I don't. So I love 1408 though. It's fantastic. 2007 was a really good year. One of my favorite, I think this was the last press screening I believe I went to before the pandemic, and that was 1917. I don't know if you guys know or not, when the pandemic hit, I was out of theaters for over a year. I have never gone that long without going to the movies, and it was tough. Like, it was tough not, that's my moment of zen, is going to the movie theaters when I'm having a hard day or a hard week or a hum month or even your year. I go to the movie theaters, and I couldn't do that when the pandemic was hitting, and that was really hard on me. But one of the last things I sat with was 1917. My wife and I went to see the film, and I love when she loves a movie, because then we get to go buy it right when it comes out. So we bought 1917 right when it hit home video. And we bought that on 4K knowing when we get a TV, man, this is going to look great on a 4K TV. And it probably will. We haven't actually watched it since. But up next we got 2001 A Space Odyssey. And I think the severely underrated 2010, The Year We Make Contact. What an odd collection of two films, because you got Stanley Kubrick's original masterpiece, which is a very emotive, very philosophical, very contemplative sci-fi film. And then you have a very plotted 2010 from, was it Peter Hyams? Yeah. I think both movies work together really well because of how different they are. What I appreciate, when Peter Hyams went to Kubrick and said, I'm possibly going to make a sequel to your film, are you okay with that? Kubrick said, just don't make a Stanley Kubrick film. Make a Peter Hyams movie. Make this your film. And I think that's why it stands as well as it does. It's heavily plotted, but it also doesn't take away from the mystery of 2001, but it provides the context and pushes the narrative forward. I'm actually heartbroken we never got, is it 2401 and 3001, the two follow-ups in the books from Arthur C. Clarke? Because I think Tom Hanks was connected for a while to play the Roy Scheider role from 2010. Yeah, too bad we never got that. But you might consider this a follow-up. 2012. This is Emmerich at his most Emmerich. I think this is like a 4-disc Blu-ray set too. This is an insane set. I quite enjoy 2012. Let me be clear. It is not a well-made movie. Perhaps it's that I really just love John Cusack and Danny Glover and Woody Harrelson and all these guys. I really enjoy what they're doing in this movie, but this is a mess of a movie. It's very important to my heart and soul, though, that I went to see this with friends in college. It was during, I don't want to say a tough period in college, but it was just, I think it was during my birthday and I spent it alone. Or I was planning on spending it alone because there was no one available. My girlfriend had to go back to school. My car got towed. I just found out that my dad had been laid off of his job that he'd had for decades. And it was just like, it was a very low emotional point where I felt very lost. And everyone I knew was going home for spring break. I was planning on staying there because it was more fun to be at school, be at my college than to be home for spring break. So I stayed there, and it was just a tough time to realize like that I was going to be alone during spring break and during my birthday. And I make a big deal out of my birthdays. If you know me currently, I make a huge deal out of my birthdays because it's the one time a year when I'm supposed to get what I want, no matter what. It's my time to get what I want. I go out and eat where I want to eat. I go buy the crap I want to grab. I go do the stuff I want to do. And I wasn't going to have that that year. And especially I was pretty broke. I was working at a job I didn't like. Just a tough time period, you know. And so I had a couple friends that decided let's go see a movie at the cheap seats. We had a theater called the Safari that was in town, pretty close by. That's you could go and see. You go see movies for $2. They were like second run after they had gone through their initial theatrical run. So this movie had already been out for like 6 months. I didn't have a lot of intention to see it, but they took me to see the movie, and we had so much fun in this nearly empty, and it was a gigantic theater. This was the big movie in their big theater for $2, and it was empty because there was a snowstorm. And we went and enjoyed the hell out of ourselves. And it was one of those places like we were there for like 3 hours. We almost thought about seeing it a second time and just gahooling through the whole thing because it was so much fun. That experience has changed my feelings on this movie, and it's one of the reasons I go back to it as frequently as I do. Here's my sob story. Yeah, so there is The Numbers. We'll see you up next for a